Howdy howdy, this is Lily from Makecraft Game, and you're listening to Season 3 of Reading Rulebooks. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out makecraftgame.com for more content. This season, I accidentally planned a ton of Knizia games, so I figured why not dive in and do a whole Knizia season. Today's Knizia game is Spectaculum. So let's get into it. Immerse yourself in the colorful worlds of fortune tellers and snake dancers. Visit a time when traveling circuses of men, women, and beasts were able to enchant entire villages by means of feats, songs, and stories. You will determine the paths on which 4 traveling shows journey through an entire kingdom. On their travels, the entertainers are acknowledged with much applause, but may also get some jeers for poor performances. You will determine which shows are worthy of your financial support, but be careful of which entertainers you sponsor. Only those with successful shows can help fill your coffers. Whoever turns out to be the most prudent patron by amassing the greatest wealth wins the game. 1. Components. 44 entertainer cards. There are 4 traveling shows in the game. Each show has a different color and is made up of 11 entertainers. Note, the particular entertainer depicted on the card is not important. Only the color is significant. 96 travel markers. Each travel marker belongs to the color of the respective traveling show. The travel markers are drawn at random during the game and put on the spaces of the game board. This determines where the traveling show of the respective color is traveling to. 1 game board. The game board depicts the kingdom with the royal court in the center. At the borders lie the headquarters of the 4 traveling shows. Attached to each headquarter is the prestige path, which is used to track the current reputation of their respective traveling show. 48 village tiles. The village tiles are placed on the game board during setup. These tiles will affect the traveling shows that visit there by increasing or decreasing their reputation, or gaining or losing money for their sponsors. 54 coins, ducats, in 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20 denominations. 4 marking pieces, 1 cloth bag, and 4 overview cards. 2. Object of the game. Your goal is to amass as much money as possible. Each traveling show has a reputation that may rise or fall due to the performances in the various villages. The higher the reputation of the traveling show, the more money each of its entertainers is worth. During the course of the game, you will have the opportunity to sponsor new entertainers of the various shows with your money and/or release entertainers you already sponsor. The higher the reputation of an entertainer that you sponsor, the more money you can earn with him. 3. Setup. 1. Put the game board in the center of the table. 2. Shuffle all village tiles. Then place them randomly face up on the village spaces on the board, so that there is 1 tile on each village space. The other spaces and the royal court in the center must remain empty. 3. Sort the entertainer cards according to the 4 colors and place each deck face up next to the prestige path of the matching color. 4. Place each marking piece on the space with the value 5 on the prestige path of the same color. 5. Give each player 1 entertainer card of each color. During the game, players should keep all entertainer cards face up in front of them organized by color, so that other players can easily see how many cards they have. 6. Sort the coins according to their value, and place them above the game board as a general stock. Then, each player receives a total of 20 ducats. Money can be hidden from other players during the game. 7. Put all travel markers in the bag and mix them thoroughly. Each player randomly draws 3 travel markers from the bag and keeps them concealed in his hand. Playing the game. Whoever deems himself to be the closest in strength to the strong lady becomes the starting player. Then the game proceeds clockwise. On a player's turn, he should place his 3 travel markers from his hand onto the table in front of him. Then he may perform up to 2 entertainer actions. Each entertainer action allows the player to A. Either become an entertainer sponsor, or B. Release an entertainer from his sponsorship. Must make the traveling show journey through the kingdom by putting his travel marker on the game board. At the end of his turn, the player must draw another 3 travel markers from the bag and keep them in his hand until the next turn. Placing your 3 travel markers on the game board is mandatory. The entertainer actions are optional, so a player may perform 2, 1, or even no entertainer action at all. Entertainer actions, however, can only be performed before and/or after the 3 travel markers are placed on the board. That is, placing the travel markers must be carried out successively and cannot be interrupted by performing an entertainer action. Examples: correct. Performing 1 entertainer action, then putting the 3 travel markers on the board, then performing a second entertainer action. Also correct. Putting the 3 travel markers on the board, then performing 1 or both entertainer actions. Incorrect. Putting 1 travel marker on the board, then performing an entertainer action, then placing the 2 remaining travel markers. 4.1 Entertainer Actions. A. Sponsor a new entertainer. You become the sponsor of an entertainer by taking an entertainer card of your choice from one of the entertainer decks and placing it in front of you. For this, you have to pay as much money to the stock as the marking piece on the applicable prestige path indicates. If it is a 0, you get the card for free. B. Release an entertainer from your sponsorship. You release an entertainer from your sponsorship by putting an entertainer card of your choice from among those lying in front of you back on top of the respective deck. For this, you get as much money from the stock as the marking piece on the applicable prestige path indicates. Note: there is no limit to the number of entertainer cards you may have lying in front of you. If a deck is empty, you cannot become the sponsor of another entertainer of that color for now. Example: if you become the sponsor of a blue entertainer, you must return 4 ducats to the stock. The blue marking piece is on the 4. If you release a yellow entertainer from your sponsorship, you may take 6 ducats from the stock. The yellow marking piece is on the 6. 4.2 Traveling. By placing a marker on a space, you make the traveling show of that color journey to that location. A travel marker can only be placed on a space that A. does not contain another travel marker, and B. is either adjacent to the headquarters of the same color or to another travel marker of the same color. If it is not possible to place a travel marker according to the rules above, it is simply removed from the game, and the player draws a new travel marker from the bag instead. On many spaces of the game board, there are village tiles. If you make a traveling show journey to a village, you simply put the travel marker on top of the tile. Each village tile, as well as the royal court, triggers an event which must be carried out right away. The event always refers to the traveling show of the place travel marker color and applies to all players. The events are +1, Parson's Smile. The entertainers manage to make the village's grim parson smile. The reputation of the traveling show increases by 1. The marking piece on the prestige path is moved up 1 space. +2, Helping Hands. It's always good to have a strong lady, whether it's the mayor's children falling from a tree or oxen which have to be pulled from the mud. The strong lady has been in the right spot in the nick of time. The reputation of the traveling show increases by 2. +3, Legendary Performance. The entertainers have outdone themselves. People are falling into each other's arms, children's laughter is heard in every corner of the village, old folks giggling on and on. The reputation of the show increases by 3. Royal Court. The entertainers give a brilliant performance at the royal court. The king is very excited and showers the entertainers with praise. The reputation of the traveling show increases by 5. -3, Thief. One of the entertainers is suspected of theft. The show is driven from the village in disgrace. The reputation of the traveling show decreases by 3. The marking piece on the prestige path is moved 3 spaces backwards. -2, botched performance. Sometimes nothing works. The dizzy dancing bear has no desire for wine, the beardless dwarf gruesome stubble, and the far-sighted fortune teller has no idea what the future holds. In short, the performance of the traveling show is totally messed up. The reputation of the show decreases by 2. -1, delay. In a fever of excitement, the whole village has gathered on the marketplace. However, the show arrives much later than advertised, because the flea tamer could not find his fleas. The reputation of the show decreases by 1. A symbol showing coins. Payday. Eureka! The show came across a very prosperous village. As patrons for this traveling show, this is a special joy to you. For each entertainer of that color that a player has in front of him, he collects 2 ducats from the stock. Example: the effect of the village tile Payday is triggered by a red travel marker. You have 3 red entertainers in front of you. For this, you get 6 ducats from the stock. The player to your right has 2 entertainers and receives 4 ducats. The other players have no red entertainers and get nothing. The symbol has a medication on it. Illness. The entertainers had to sleep in a dirty backyard and are now infected with a nasty illness. Sponsors of this traveling show have to pay money so that the competent healer can fix them up. For each entertainer of that color that a player has in front of him, he must pay 2 ducats to the stock. Special case. If a player does not have enough money to pay the costs, he must immediately release entertainers from his sponsorship until he is able to pay the costs. However, each released entertainer gives that player only half the money, rounded down, of the current value on the particular prestige path. Note: the marking piece on any prestige path can never be moved beyond the value 25 or the last 0 before the headquarters. Ignore any effects that would move the markers past these spaces. 5. End of the game. Certain village tiles on the board have red borders surrounding them. The game ends immediately after a player's turn when A. a maximum of 1 red-bordered village tile is unoccupied, i.e. has no travel marker on it, and B. the royal court is occupied by a travel marker. In rare cases, the game also ends immediately when, at the end of the turn, the last travel marker is drawn from the bag. Now, each player receives 1 last payment. Each entertainer gives his patron as many ducats as the marking piece on the respective prestige paths. Example: at the end of the game, the blue marking piece is on the 7. The red one is on the 12. You have 1 blue entertainer card and gain 7 ducats. You also have 2 red entertainer cards and gain 24 ducats. Then count your money. The player with the most ducats wins the game. In the case of a tie, the victory is shared. Variant. For a little more tactical depth, at the beginning of the game, have each player draw 4 travel markers instead of 3. However, on a player's turn, he still only puts 3 travel markers on the board. At the end of his turn, he decides whether he wants to keep the 4th marker for his next turn, and therefore draw 3 new ones, or return the 4th marker to the bag, and then draw 4 new ones. And that's the rulebook for Spectaculum. I have not played the game, but I can tell from the rules that this is a train game. Yeah. So this is what I would think falls into like a cube rail game, but having a more fun and bright theme. I was really interested as I was learning the rulebook about why I would take certain actions. So when you get to playing the game, you learn the 2 actions you can do, becoming a sponsor or releasing them. Now, typically, I'm a hoarder, so why would I ever release an entertainer? Especially if, as it was found out in the entertainer's actions, I don't have a hand limit, so I can just take and take and take and take. Why would I ever get rid of something? Well, there are 2 real reasons. 1, you're broke. You need money to buy somebody else, maybe somebody better, maybe somebody who has more potential. 2 would be the village events. Now, one thing that Spectaculum does that I haven't really seen too much of before are negative events. Normally, I see the stocks or the value of the entertainers increase and increase and increase. There's never really a negative. They're just maybe not as positive as other ones. So it's more about the delta rather than looking at it's going to decrease. But Spectaculum actually has events that cause the prestige to decrease. And I find that absolutely fascinating because there is ways to actively hurt other players, which is not necessarily present in other games of a similar vein. The illness event is particularly interesting because that's a straight up attack on a player. I don't know any player who would actively put their marker on illness if it's going to penalize them. But if you notice that you have one of those entertainers, you don't want to get rid of your money, and it's highly likely someone's going to place the marker on illness, you might want to get rid of them just to offset that charge. Otherwise, not too much to say about the game. It's a pretty simple rulebook. Be more gender neutral, guys. Come on. Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to play this game just because it does seem like a kind of fascinating train game. Especially because the village tiles are random. There's not necessarily a good company or a bad company. There are just companies. And I'm very curious to see how that works. The other thing that's kind of fun is on the map itself, or I guess more accurately, the prestige paths. There are 6 0 spaces. So you could hit 0 and it might be going negative, but really it's just kind of making it even harder for that color to climb out of those depths. More than likely, the color will be abandoned at that point. I don't think anyone would really want to invest in that until you can get it a little bit better. But hey, investing for $0 means that they cost 0 money. So if you're able to climb from 0 to 1 and you got a bunch of entertainers for free, that's an interesting new gain. I find a lot of the ideas behind this fascinating. The theme is fun. I don't really care about it much. The mechanics are something I'm much more interested in, and I think this game has a really interesting way of doing that. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, make sure to check out MCG on other social media platforms, or go to makecraftgame.com for more content. And I hope you enjoy playing the game.